Hello, my name is Austin Habish, the founder of Think Catholic, and you're listening to the Summa podcast, where we study St. Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologiae in a way simple and insightful for anyone to understand. The Summa podcast is brought to you by Think Catholic. Taking 2 questions of the Summa a day, we'll seek to summarize St. Thomas's responses, discovering the brilliance of Aquinas. And his Catholic faith is day 155. So let's get started. We're covering today questions 74 and 75 of the secundae, that is, of Tael-Bearing and of Derision. The translation that I always use in these podcasts is the one generously provided to me by Ave Maria Press, the 5-volume set translated by the Fathers of the English Dominican province, which you can now get at a discounted price from Ave Maria Press's site by typing in the code SUMMA10. And so here we go. Article 1, whether tail-bearing is a sin distinct from backbiting. Both tail-bearing and backbiting consist in speaking poorly of another behind their back. The distinction between them is that backbiting is disparaging another in order to blacken or diminish their good name. It's about damaging another's reputation in front of others. Tail-bearing is about severing friendships. The tale-bearer is seeking to destroy the friendship between the one being disparaged and the one being told such disparaging remarks. St. Thomas writes here, a gloss on Romans chapter 1, tale-bearers, backbiters, says, tale-bearers sow discord among friends, backbiters deny or disparage others' good points. Article 2, whether backbiting is a graver sin than tale-bearing. If we remember the principle from our last episode that the graver sin against our neighbor is the one which injures our neighbor more, Aquinas argues in this article that between having a good name and having friends, we desire the former for the sake of the latter. We want a good reputation for the sake of having good friendships. And I think if each one of us gave that some thought, we would find ourselves agreeing with Aquinas. Aristotle went so far as to say, even if a man had all other goods but not friends, he would choose not to live. Now, I know as a former Carthusian monk that even when a man is thrown away in a cell, he still has the friendship of God, provided he is in a state of friendship with God, a state of grace. Therefore, in response to our article, tale-bearing, which is about destroying friendships, is a graver sin than backbiting, which is about destroying another's reputation. And now on to question 75 of Derision. Article 1, whether derision is a special sin distinct from those already mentioned. This article is answered by Aquinas very briefly in the following words. He says, derision is done in jest, wherefore it is described as making fun. Now all the foregoing are done seriously and not in jest. Therefore derision differs from all of them. The reviler intends to injure the honor of the person he is reviling. The backbiter wants to injure their good name. The tale-bearer wants to injure their friendships. And the derider intends to shame or embarrass the person they are deriding. These sins are distinct because their aim is distinct. Giving the final word to Aquinas on, again, the difference between derision and reviling, which may be the most difficult to see. Aquinas writes, derision is done with the mouth, i.e. by words and laughter, and differs from reviling as being shamed differs from being dishonored. For to be ashamed is to fear dishonor, as Damascene states. Article 2, in our last article, whether derision can be a mortal sin. If one is making fun of another out of contempt for them, as esteeming their misfortunes and defects small and worthy of jest, because they themselves are worthless in the derider's eyes, then this sin would be mortal. But if derision does not come out of this contempt, then it may be only a venial sin. The sin of derision is also all the more grave to the degree the person or object being derided is of greater dignity. To laugh or make fun of God, our Lord, His saints, His church, His sacraments, all of these become very grave very quickly. Giving the final word to St. Thomas, contrasting derision with backbiting and reviling, he writes, derision considered in itself is less grievous than backbiting or reviling because it does not imply contempt, but jest. Sometimes, however, it includes greater contempt than reviling does, and then it is a grave sin. Which brings us to the end of a very brief episode. We have just finished covering questions 74 and 75 of the secundae, that is, of Tael-Bearing and of Derision. My name is Austin Habish with Think Catholic, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow.